We'll get started in one more minute. 1 minute. All right, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the February 6th meeting of Queens Community Board 2. If you would like, we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for all. Awesome, thank you. It's been a while, so just a reminder for my favorite wait rule. Why am I talking? So, let's keep that in mind, and we'll start with comments from our public officials and their representatives. With Tiffany from Congressman Velasquez's office.
Thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you guys. Please bear with me. As you know, we have a lot of federal, concise and quick with it. Something on the local level, the Congresswoman last week did a immigration roundtable with all the Queens Western community leaders, basically just talking about what to come with the new immigration policies that Trump is doing. It was very productive, and I was very happy to see everyone come together, just talk about their concerns. Speaking of that, I also brought along the Know Your Rights flyer that the Congresswoman has provided in both English and Spanish. More languages to come. It is on the table in the back. Yes, of course. So, in regards to the Department of Education, the Congresswoman co-sponsored this week the Department of Education Act, which basically provides the structure and the functionality of the Department of Education. As we are expecting the president to put out an executive order to stop the department, we want to let you know that the Congresswoman is doing everything in her power to advocate for this not to happen. So fingers crossed, let's see what happens there. She also signed on to the letter with other Congress members advocating to President Trump to reconsider this expected executive order. Oh, so sorry, guys. Okay. The Congresswoman is appalled with the involvement of Elon Musk in our government. This Tuesday, she actually rallied at the Department of Treasury for ending Musk's government takeover. Congresswoman Velasquez believes that it is completely unconstitutional to have an unelected billionaire gain access to all of our federal financial systems, which exposes Americans' personal financial information. As you may know, she is a ranking member of the House Committee of Small Business, and she led a letter to address the Small Business Administration acting administrator to clarify the extent of Musk's access to the small business administrative systems, as it is a breach and endangers the private information of all small business owners throughout the nation. One quick update, tariffs. We saw a plummet in the stock market because of the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which have been paused, but now we know that we are having one on China. The Congresswoman is opposed to all of these tariffs because they will hurt working class families. If you have a pension plan, if you own a small business that relies on imports from these countries, you will be affected. I just want to remember and tell everyone to just breathe and remember to just take it easy. Don't look at the news all the time, but if you need us, you need the Congresswoman, we are here. Our flyers are on the table, and yeah, just hope you have a good night. All right, any questions, concerns? If not, I'll be, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, so we've gotten a lot of calls on that at the moment. The Congresswoman is really trying to see what is going on with that, who is doing what at the moment. Right now, everything is very unclear, but I could definitely provide you an update for sure next time, because right now everything is kind of just like, what's Trump doing? What is Elon doing? What's going on? But I could provide an update. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. I'll let the Congresswoman know for sure because we know that there's tons of jobs right now that are being just completely eliminated. So, yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah.
Wait for the mic.
Everybody can hear you. Yeah. I saw the video of the Congresswoman at the Treasury. Thank you, thank her. But, and I kind of know the answer, but what else can she do? What else can she do with us? Like, I think you have a community, it's so loud, that is willing to do what we need to do to help, but like, honestly, like, I'm kind of lost in what that is.
Yeah, no, we completely understand. Everyone right now, including members and staffers at the Hill at the moment, are kind of just scrambling around to see what we can do, how we could advocate more. But I know one big thing that the Congresswoman is really, her value is organizing. So she would always say to just organize as a community, come together. How could you organize? How could you advocate for what you guys want, what you guys believe in? So just trying to find ways to advocate, to speak up against what's happening, not only at a federal level, but you could also do that as a local level. So come together in smaller groups, see how you could organize and advocate a little bit more. But of course, I'll bring this along to the Congresswoman to see what we could do more on the Hill.
Thank you, and I do really appreciate her efforts.
Hi. Just wondering, are you aware of any grants or for transportation infrastructure or anything else that have been affected by potential freezes or cuts?
Well, I do know for a fact that there have been agencies that have been affected 1,000%, but I don't know the specific details, but that's another thing that I could update you next month for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, any more concerns? All right, thank you so much, guys. We'll be over there if you need to contact me or just want to have a conversation. All right?
Thanks, Tiffany. Next is Evelyn from Congresswoman Meng's office.
Hi everyone, good to see everyone again. I think I will just echo what Tiffany was saying and what Congresswoman Velasquez was doing, because it's been very tough 2 weeks for everyone, because we are all worried about our the cut on funding and then the attack on our human rights, our immigrant community. And the Congresswoman and our office are very concerned about what's happening right now. And we are working day and night to work with our local elected officials to protect our community. And we're trying to figure out ways to do it, because as everyone knows, the administration did what they did because they know they can have their power bypass the Congress. So we are trying to figure out the ways to fight against that. The Congresswoman also was at the Department of Treasury to fight against Elon Musk's access, which is totally illegal, unconstitutional. And then in the coming days, there will be letters, there will be bills coming up. Hopefully we can come up with something very soon. And then just please be assured that we are advocating for you. And then if you have any concerns, please feel free to reach out to us. Just in addition, speaking of grants though, if you are affiliated with a nonprofit organization looking to upgrade its security, our office may be able to assist you with identifying available grant programs. So they are still available. Thankfully the federal court blocked the federal funding order. Although we do hear some impact already, because we heard some hospitals, their payrolls might be interrupted. So there might be some influence on there, but we are still trying to fight for those funding. But if you are affiliated to any nonprofits or had any concerns or questions, please feel free to reach out to our office. And last but not least, IRS has the direct file and it's tax season this year. So just be sure to take advantage of that. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, please.
Hi, thank you for being here. I know at the end of last year, she had secured about 1.2 million for a new community center, and it was allocated to a Filipino group. And I just was wondering if that funding is still secured, or has that been threatened by what's currently happening?
I don't want to give you the misinformation so far. I don't think I have heard anything interrupted by that, but I will get back to you. I'll get your contact information after this.
Okay, thank you
And
so
I'll get
much.
back to you. Yes, of course. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn, and right on time. If you want Mercedes to go first, so you can take a second to. All right. Senator Kristen Gonzalez.
Okay, perfect. It's really good to be here again. I was actually just here on Saturday for the inauguration of our new Assemblywoman, Claire Valdez. I think I see her team in the house. Was really excited to speak. So it's great to be back. I just wanted to come, we're back in session, so I wanted to see if you all have any questions and give some brief updates from our office. Happy Lunar New Year, of course, to all who have celebrated. We had some really great events in Long Island City, so appreciate the Long Island City Partnership for putting those together. So a few just general updates. Of course, we have congestion pricing now. We're going to start there. And we are collecting data on the positive impacts and surveying our communities. So if you have any feedback on the program, our office is happy to hear. If you have any questions, the MTA is also putting out some information and FAQs, so happy to share that with the board. We are in winter, so just want to do some broad heat reminders. Your landlord is required to provide heat until May 31st. If you're experiencing any disruptions in that, please, again, our office is here. Shauna, my community affairs director, is here if you want to report any cases to us that we can help follow up on through our office. What we've been up to in the district, we had a successful pet adoption event in the Chocolate Factory Theater. We adopted out last weekend 30 pets. We'll be doing more of these, so looking at any of you who may want kittens, dogs, or we have a surplus in bunnies. So if anyone's looking for some bunnies, we will follow up with that event. We also have done a couple of events throughout the district. One I just came from right now. NYU Langone is in my district on the Manhattan side. And as many of you probably heard, the federal administration, the Trump administration, put out an executive order threatening federal funding to any hospital providing gender-affirming care. And NYU actually took that decision and made the choice to cancel appointments for trans youth under the age of 19 who were receiving care. That is absolutely unacceptable. And so in the last week and a half, I had been speaking with the Attorney General's office, speaking with my colleagues. The Attorney General did put out a guidance saying that any hospital across New York State, even if they are worried about losing this federal funding, if they are ending gender-affirming care, that is not in accordance with New York State law. That is clearly stated in law as discrimination. And even though she put out that guidance and we had a rally on Monday planned by DSA in my district with over 1,000 New Yorkers who showed up, over 110, by the way, 1,000 New Yorkers have signed a petition, NYU has yet to reverse their decision. So today I held a press conference with I actually think about 10 of my Manhattan colleagues and one Brooklyn colleague, Senator Brisport, who made it all the way out to NYU to send a message that we're not going to stop pressuring them to reverse that decision, and also send a message to every other hospital network that is considering doing the same, because we have heard that others are considering following suit, and who are also considering, also selling out other vulnerable communities, including the immigrant community. because several hospitals unfortunately have issued guidances that they will not protect certain, unfortunately patients from immigration and customs enforcement. So that's a little bit of the work that I did today. We had our press conference just before this. That's where I'm coming from. But in addition to that, in the last few weeks, with everything coming out from the federal administration, we've been organizing with other offices to do roundtables on what to do in terms of protecting our immigrant community. I want to shout out Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez for her roundtable that she put together last week in Long Island City. And certainly want to shout out my overlapping electeds for working together and coordinating with our community-based organizations and nonprofits to do Know Your Rights trainings, to hand out flyers. My team right now, Shauna, has flyers with her. If you want to take some, it's, distribute them in your building, and we'll be continuing that organizing. So a lot has happened in the last month, and we're going to continue looking at, what our relationship is to the federal government. I will just end with a couple of quick things. We've been continuing to do the budget process. We're submitting our letter on Monday. There are a number of proposals that we're supportive of in the governor's budget, including, the child tax credit, birth allowance for beginning year, the baby benefit. So if you are a new family receiving direct money to pay for things like diapers and more when we know that it's so expensive, universal free school meals. Again, happy to send out more information. We've passed a couple of bills, one through committee, the GAP fund, to help retrofit our aging housing stock for renewables, and I passed through the Senate CUPD a bill to ensure that if our utility companies are under investigation, we are not going to be charged late fees. So if your utility company is overcharging, for example, and the PSC is investigating for that, you should not, if you're struggling to keep up with that, have to pay late fees. And you certainly, if you do not pay, period, should not lose your service or have termination service. We passed that through the Senate as a way to make sure that we're holding utilities accountable. And I know you're considering One LIC. This is the second last thing. I guess the final thing now. We are excited to have been part of these conversations with the community, and definitely want to recognize Councilmember Wan's office. And we look through what the community board has proposed in your points of agreement. And I just want to say, we're always here to receive more feedback, but we want to make sure that any upzoning that happens in our community comes with benefits, meaning more infrastructure improvements, more schools, more money for artists in the community and more space, and of course, more green space. One win our office helped secure is we worked with the New York NYPA, so the New York Power Authority, to ensure that they will allow a walkway through their portion of the land so that we will have a continuous green waterfront. So we're happy to work on the state level to do that, but we need to do that and so much more. So appreciate the work that this community board has done to advocate for those things, and just want to echo my support for a lot of the points that you've mentioned that you were in agreement with. So with that, I'm going to stop and then take some questions if you have. Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Senator. Appreciate it. I'm just wondering if there's anything in the draft points of agreement that you disagree with.
Yeah, I had that same, that's a great question. There is nothing that has stood out to me as I deeply disagree with this. I definitely think these are the base, right? And we need to be asking not only for maximum public benefit on public land and maximum affordability on public land, but we need to look at the private sector and real estate to do the same. We need, there's a lot of money that's going to be made by developers by this upzoning, and I want to see them do their part to support our small businesses, right? To support our artists and provide space, to provide space for schools and more. So it's not that I disagree. I just think, I'm always figuring out the maximum benefit can be, especially for what we are offering, which is 10% if possible density for the City of Yes plan, which is punching way above our weight. But I know that Councilmember Wan has voiced support for a lot of these things as well. And again, want to recognize her office. I see Nick sitting here for doing that as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. I'm sure you know what I'm going to ask about. So I know the cuts happened and then they were undone or whatever. The pause happened and it was unpaused, but I mean, I think it's probably coming back. And I think that in New York, the great state, progressive state, we should be stepping up when our federal government is not. I know that you probably agree, but I think the governor is not there. So in the budget process, what will you do to force, and I know it's hard and I know she has more power, to force, like, in the budget and I guess with policy to protect us from the cuts, to fund things like Medicaid, which, I mean, pays for a lot of healthcare for a lot of people. But it's not just that, it's housing vouchers, federal housing vouchers, it's meals, all the things. Like, what I know you're there, but what will you do to push the governor to be there as well?
Thank you for the question. That's a
Sorry,
great
sorry.
question. No, but I think that's the thing on all of our minds right now. Like, how much has come out in the last week that from the Trump administration that you've just been like, what does this even mean? Like, I've been like, I don't know how many of us have had that moment. I certainly have. You know, whether it's threatened funding cut or reverse, it doesn't matter. I think we need to be preparing New York State for the worst. I like to plan for the worst. That's why I like to worry. That's why I'm in public office. Like, I'm like, let me put that to good use. And one of the best things we can do, of course, is raising revenue. If we are going to lose funding at the state level, we have to raise the revenue at the state level. And there are clear proposals that have been on the table for years for that, including taxing the ultra wealthy. Number one, we have an incredible number of new millionaires, but also the lion's share of billionaires in downstate here in New York City. Taxing corporations, and then other taxes that are common sense, like an heirs tax. There's also taxes on some of our largest landowners. How many of you know who the largest landowner in New York is? New York City. Columbia University does not pay taxes on that land. Insane. NYU, second largest, right? A lot of, so I think we need to look at where we can raise revenue, especially from whether it's universities or individuals that have billions of dollars to make up that gap. We've been fighting for this. I think this is the time. I'm seeing some momentum. If you all want to see us tax the rich and tax others, this is the time. I'm not your only rep. I represent some of you in Long Island City and Astoria, but you can let your other representatives know, or let your friends in other districts to let their representatives know that this is what you want to see. So thank you for that question, and thank you for letting me remind folks that now's the time to reach out. Yeah.
So talking about maximizing benefits on the waterfront.
Yeah.
So, we all talk about deeply affordable housing, and everybody talks about AMIs. I want to talk about vouchers, and I want to talk about the opportunity to encourage private developers to take vouchers for those buildings that will be on the waterfront. So 30%, 25%, not enough, right? Yeah. So how they get deeper is with vouchers. And how they get deeper is with the city and the state, enabling vouchers to go for those projects.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I know last year we passed the Housing Access Voucher Program, I think, or version with Senator Kavanaugh. I think, we will encourage folks to continue expanding on those programs. Vouchers are one way that we get to subsidize affordable housing, but I also know that, we're going to it's going to be a hostile environment in the federal government, but we also fundamentally, to your point on AMI, need to do more. And I know I always like to do this. Congresswoman Velasquez has a bill on this. She's been working in this space. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the feedback. I see a couple.
So on Monday, I attended the Community Education Council for District 30, where the chancellor mentioned that, so there's this worry because a lot of the schools in New York City, public schools, are Title I schools. And so Title I funding plus other federal funding being lost because of all the potential, loss in federal funding. She mentioned something about New York State Foundation aid, And so trying to gain more access, more funds for that money to kind of supplement the need for Title I and other kind of funding. So how would you recommend this board to support and advocating for that additional funding?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we're having those conversations right now, like in the last week even, with the chairs of the relevant committees in the state senate to how do we make sure we're like increasing funding for schools, looking at our foundation aid formula, like making it the best possible version. But the thing that I'll call out and what's kind of been interesting is not all of the school districts that qualify have even like taken the money. And so there's like it's a little bit more of like a balance and an odd, like more work that we're doing to say, hey, where do we make sure we can bring the maximum amount of money back to our districts? But for the school districts that qualify and should benefit, why is their money being left on the table? So that's one thing we're actively working on, but that's a great question and some surprising insights. I see.
Hi.
Hi.
So,
One second. Questions are for board members only right now, but please feel free to follow up offline.
quick question about discretionary, and thank you so much for making that process so transparent and accessible to folks that are new to the process. Curious if there was any data yet on how many budget requests you received this cycle, and what are the next steps to expect once folks have submitted that form?
That is a great question. Yes. So we have like over 100 requests. I represent 3 boroughs, so my office is like uniquely strained compared to other offices, I will say, because sometimes we're able to, like, if, let's say the whole district was in Queens, right? There are Queens-wide organizations that we fund, or the Queens Public Library, right? That's one example. But that only, if I give there, I'm also trying to give to Brooklyn and the New York Public Library to cover the libraries in the other parts of my district. So we are definitely, I think we receive a higher volume. So we're combing through them. It takes a little bit of time. If you are a community org that's submitted, you are gonna get notification that you are in our budget letter, right? That you're the one that I'm submitting for the executive budget. We'll try to get as many of those things to the bigger budget that's happening in April, right? The state budget. And then if we don't get those things in the state budget, which we know it's a tight belt year, is probably gonna happen, then whoever applied will be rolled over to our discretionary funding. Our discretionary funding is the individual office funding we receive that happens at the end of session, which is in June, right? And we know, I don't know what to expect, but we know that it's probably also gonna be a tight year. So hoping for the most, we'll keep you all posted. I will also add that for organizations, 2 things. 1, please apply to your state level officials, myself or assembly member, but we do receive smaller pots than city council. City council gets more because like the city budget's 130 billion, the state budget's 230 billion, but it covers the entire state. And that's true of any state rep, no matter who's representing you. So even if we're not able to fully fund things, which tends to happen, please do not forget that you have multiple levels of government to pull from, and we can definitely, we're always working with our counterparts. I'll certainly work with Councilmember Juan to see who we can help fund this year.
Thank you. So it's by letter notification that you'd find out if your request was granted?
You should get a no.
Oh.
That's not how, sorry, if your request was funded or included in our
Yeah.
budget letter.
So the discretionary form, right? So if like organizations submitted for a discretionary like request, when do folks get notified as to like if that was?
Oh, that doesn't happen till like, so that's what I'm saying. We're trying to get everybody over 100 requests in the state budget.
Right.
That happens in April. We don't get our funding till June.
Right.
So then our process happens later than that.
Okay.
So for that, it's much later in the year.
And how do folks learn about it? Like, do we get, is there like a notification?
Yeah, I'll make sure Shauna, my team, who's here, like is also, we email it to everyone.
Got it. Okay, email.
But that form is also a lot, it's open, so like you're welcome to apply if you want to apply, and then, you know, later, anyone who's not funded through the state budget who did apply early in the year, like I said, will be rolled over. But it seems like this is more, like I'm happy to walk through the process offline so that we're being mindful of the board.
Thank you.
In this moment. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
And hello, Senator. Con Ed recently dropped the news that they wanted to raise rates, double digits, 10% or more, on our energy. Is there momentum against that? Is there momentum for the public power? Could you talk to us about publicly owned utilities and renewable energy that might be an alternative to raising energy prices?
Yeah. No, thank you for that question. So I ran on climate because we're a waterfront district. We have like the power plant. That has always been number one with the Build Public Renewables Act. First year in office, helped pass the Build Public Renewables Act as a member of the Energy Committee. And since then, it's been a fight to even get our state to build the maximum amount of public renewables so that which would help decrease costs, right, for our consumers. So right now, we're really frustrated that in the executive budget, they've only proposed 3 megawatts, but we want to see 15. So we want to see an increase there, and that would help with this situation, which is the proposed increases, which we are fully against. I actually had like an hour-and-a-half long conversation directly with the PSC chair, Rory Christian, to let him know that, you know, my district is really frustrated when the PSC approves rate hikes. And, you know, I'm going to keep on advocating for that. But I think one of the best ways we can push to make sure that doesn't happen is increasing the number of renewable sources that we're pulling from. So for folks who are interested, please join the Public Power Campaign. You know, if you want to send letters to your reps, it would be very helpful to get us with max build out this year. So thank you for the question, and like so much of my time has been this. So thank you for calling it out. Yeah, thanks. Is that all good? Thank you guys. I'm gonna stay for a little bit, so if anyone has a question, feel free to come grab me. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Senator. And next is Mercedes Jennings from our other state representative, Senator Gennar's office.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me this evening. I apologize. I had an injury from the weekend that I'm still recovering from, but I do appreciate being here tonight again to represent Senator Michael Gianaris for CB2. So Senator Gianaris, in response to the ongoing displacement of residents in the 5-alarm fire at 4309 47th Avenue in Sunnyside last year, has introduced legislation to prevent this from happening in the future. And basically the legislation proposes that landlords have to pay the rent of the displaced residents until they can get the residents fixed and they can move back in. He feels it's ridiculous that, you know, these residents over a year are still displaced. So this is his way of trying to see if he can incentivize or deter landlords from taking a long time, and also to incentivize them to do it quicker. This is taken so seriously that this same proposal is also being pushed in the assembly by Assemblywoman Claire Valdez. So just wanted to let you know that he is taking this extremely seriously and hopes that this does pass in the Senate and the Assembly this session. In addition to that, the senator will be at an event this Saturday, a Lunar New Year event at Moore Homestead Playground in the community. And also we hopefully will be doing at least 4 Real ID DMV events for the residents again, so that people could have easier access to get the new Real ID before May of 2025. In addition to that, a lot of people have been calling our offices concerning congestion pricing and emails, so we have been taking data on that. And also, I did attend on behalf of the senator the town hall that was conducted by the chancellor for all the New York City public schools. Chancellor Alvarez Ramos made a very clear distinction that schools are going to continue with the same protections for students who are newcomers as was prior. So they're not allowing ICE in the schools. They want to make sure that students feel protected and safe, and have them not have their education infringed because parents are afraid. So just wanted to let you know that information. Are there any questions?
Oh, Mercedes, I think you're good.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Next, Jamie from Assemblyman Stephen Raga's office.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see you all. So as the senator mentioned, we are in budget season. So there's a few budget letters that the assembly member is circulating. One of them is a Mitchell-Lama letter to have $500 million to be invested specifically in New York City Mitchell-Lamas. The member was able to secure $80 million last year, but a lot of that funding went to Mitchell-Lamas upstate, and we're in a housing crisis, so the member wants to make sure that we're investing in New York City Mitchell-Lamas. He's also working on a budget letter in partnership with Assemblymember Reyes to alleviate medical debt in New York State. So this letter would be partnering with Undo Medical Debt, which is a nonprofit that buys medical debt at a steep fraction of the cost. So for every dollar that's donated to this nonprofit, they can alleviate $100 worth of medical debt. So we're asking for a $15 million investment to alleviate $1.5 billion worth of medical debt. We did the analysis, that would actually alleviate all qualifying medical debt in New York State. So really excited for that. And another budget letter that I want to mention is that the assembly member has been working with the organization Open Plans in order to do a automated enforcement curb program in the city. This would create safer streets for pedestrians and drivers, and it would provide citations for those who are blocking crosswalks, who are double parking, so we can alleviate traffic, reduce emissions, and make sure that especially those who are disabled are able to access the crosswalk, and it's just safer for everyone. For a few updates for our events, we'll be hosting a legal clinic with Communities Resist on Wednesday, February 25th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at our district office. So if you know anyone who's interested or if you need legal help with housing, please call our office 718-651-3185 and we can schedule you an appointment. We're also hosting free tax preparation in partnership with Urban Upbound every Saturday. So we started about a week ago. We have appointments from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you call our office, we can schedule you one. It'll be a 1-hour appointment, and it'll be with IRS certified taxpayer preparers. And they can see if you qualify for any government benefits or any credits. So sorry, last few updates. For the bird poop, we've been speaking with LIR in regards to how to reduce the bird poop extractions. We've also been talking to sanitation, but it's been a bit difficult because they pretty much have not been wanting to sanitize the sidewalks. So we're speaking with ACE, which is an organization that does a lot of cleaning, next week, just so we can, see if we can target these areas. The LIR, though, we are right now in conversations with putting up bird netting and other ways to dissuade pigeons from sitting there. So that's in progress, and then I'll hopefully have an update with you next time we come. Any questions? Great. My card's over there, and I'm also over there if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Nick from Councilmember One's office.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you all. So I'll be quick because I know we've been listening to a lot of updates from elected officials. I do just want to say that a number of organizations in the district have sort of reached out to our office that they've recently lost federal funds, particularly the Immigration Legal Services funding funded by USCIS. So that's Emerald Isle Immigration Center, that's Catholic Migration Services as part of the larger Catholic Charities sort of network. That's Jacob Reese Settlement House. I don't believe Sunnyside Community Services receives any of the funding that was specifically for citizenship that was cut. But ultimately, and I think Danielle Brucker brought up a great point about the city stepping up. So this past week, we announced $2 million of immigration legal services for rapid response legal funding for nonprofits in New York City. It's a brand new city council initiative to increase the capacity of legal service providers to provide immigration legal services. We also announced $3.8 million for what's really exciting, which is the first of its kind sort of language access co-op in New York City. So it's not like big vendors in other countries that are translating city documents and offering interpretation for in the 10 required languages required by local law 30. It's actually communities in New York City. There's 5 community organizations who are going to be doing a lot of that work and getting that work from the city. So it's really exciting to see that sort of investment at the same time that we see major cuts on the federal level and obviously an increase in in threats to immigrant New Yorkers. The city council budget for sort of specific to immigrant New Yorkers is about $65 million, right? For about 40% of our city, right? We have these direct services that go to nonprofits that serve our communities. And we've to the board to share out to folks in your networks. We've also sort of produced Know Your Rights information, have those red cards that you can pick up from our office to distribute. And I'm happy to answer any questions, both now or offline, but yeah. For me.
Hey, Nick. Similar to what the senator said about the draft points of agreement, would love a response from your office and from Julie about, what specifically she likes or doesn't like or disagrees with and those points. Thanks.
Sure. Yeah, look, I mean, I think a lot of the points that the board made, and, I think we can sort of have like a more formal discussion about it. A lot of the points are ones that the council member made in her comments for the environmental impact study, and so we agree with a lot of those pieces. Her stance for huge pieces of this is listen to what the community is saying, and this is a big part of that. So now we're in like receipt of that, particularly for the public sites, right? That's why we just had that big workshop. But I think we probably have more to agree on from those points than to disagree on. Obviously, transportation infrastructure, resiliency, deeply affordable housing, are sort of top of mind for us. I think that the voucher piece that Lisa brought up was right on point. So I think we have a lot of the same core values there. Whether they come out in negotiations, sort of like right up front, we're announcing that that's the the line, or that's something that will have to be negotiated through the process, as most of these land use actions go through, I think is sort of where there's been, and I know you've written some great work about this. I read your Substack. I think that there's a process that we have to follow, unfortunately. But I think in terms of values, I think we're in a very similar place.
Yes, thank you for being here and for that response. I guess one area where it would be that is less mandated by the EIS process, where the community board has major concerns, is around open space, specifically public parks and inland parks, because we see this gigantic increase in population and density in a neighborhood that's already experienced, adjacent to an overwhelming increase in density and more buildings going up all the time, not even including the rezoning. So one thing that's very absent from the city's proposal is any proposal for real public open space inland, and we would very much like to hear the council members' thoughts on that, because to us it's really vital that this be a neighborhood where children have a place to go out from their apartment, and everybody in the neighborhood has a place to recreate, and we're very concerned that built the way it's currently designed or currently planned under the rezoning, there's just not going to be that space.
Yeah, absolutely, Christine. I hear you, and we have your feedback certainly from the committee meetings. We've heard from a lot of community members a similar thing, so I absolutely heard. I will say that even in the draft points of agreement, there are big pieces about open space that we absolutely have the exact same position on. Around the WAP, the public sites, we absolutely heard there's no plan right now, right? We're at the part that we're soliciting feedback, and this is part of that. So like heard and received. And I'll certainly bring that back to the council member.
Yeah, it would be very helpful to us to actually hear her thoughts on some of these points.
Sure, yeah, and
Thank
I
you.
understand the frustrating nature of some of this, right? Where it's like for her to get the maximum amount for the community, sometimes it means not leading with, this is my line in the sand with the administration for whom we're negotiating to try to get the maximum benefit, right? But in terms of values, I want to say we absolutely hear you on the need for public open space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is James from Comptroller Radlander's office.
Hi, everyone. It's good to be here. It's been a while, I think, since I've spoken here in person. I think I've done the last few via Zoom, right? So I'm here from the New York City Comptroller's Office. I'm James Mongeluso, the Queensborough Director, for those of you who don't know me. I have a few updates from the office. First, I do want to say that our office right now has an internship program that's open. The applications are mostly due by the end of this month. Some are due in early March. They are for undergraduates and grad students, different positions. If you go to our website, you can see all the listings from all the different bureaus we have. We have positions in audit, in communications, in policy, in contract administration. So there's a lot of options there. So if you know someone who's an undergraduate student or a grad student that's interested, please take a look. You get paid at these internships as well. If you want more info, you can talk to me after. I can give you my card. Also, I do have a few things to say about contracts. First being that New York City gets about $8 billion in non-emergency federal grants. And a lot of this money is used by our agencies to, pay contractors, a lot of them nonprofit contractors. And our office just put together a database, a downloadable data set, and a tool you can use to see what the impact of various federal cuts from the Trump administration might have on the city and on the agencies. You can look at it by different categories of spending, like education and so on. So if you're interested in that, it's on the website in the newsroom section. I can send it to you as well if you if you want to talk to me after. And also, we found out, we just did some not an audit, I'd say, but I guess our investigation finding that 9 out of the 10 contracts that the mayoral administration gives to our office to register, which we do under the city charter, we have to do that. 9 out of 10 of them come late. A lot of the time the service is being provided before we've had a chance to even look at the contract. This is pretty typical. It's even worse for certain categories of contracts, like those with that are owned by minority or women, the MWBE category. So there's even worse delays with that. And speaking of a contract, our office just declined to register the ShotSpotter contract that the NYPD uses. That's the one that detects whether or not a gunshot's been fired, because what we found over analyzing the data over several months, that at best, the ShotSpotter was wrong 80% of the time. At worst, it was wrong 92% of the time. And just one more thing too. We also just did an investigation on buildings that get temporary orders that allow them to be utilized, like the one that the mayor's in trouble with that were connected to the Turkish government. And we did find that it is by far the largest building that has that's being given this special treatment. And it was still getting special treatment up until the 26th of September. But we also found that there's many, many buildings that don't have certificates of occupancy that are operating, hundreds of them. So that's it for me. If you need to contact me, you can reach me at 646-689-6509. Again, it's James Mongeluso from the Comptroller's Office, 646-689-6509. Which one?
There are hundreds of buildings operating without certificates of occupancy.
Well, yeah, there are hundreds of them. Those that are considered immediately hazardous is only 88 of them. I mean, I don't know how much detail do you want me to give you. We analyzed over 600 relatively large office buildings. Of those 600, there's 88 that are considered immediately hazardous by Department of Buildings.
And they never had a CVO?
They don't have one now. Probably
Are
they've
they under
never had one, though I
construction?
don't know. They're in various states, you know, I can
mean, it's
probably
just
get
a-
you the whole data set if you want, but, you know, we have an investigation published that goes into the details of you know, the different sites. But there's many different situations, so there's not like one quick answer to it.
Yeah, it's just most buildings that are operating have a C of O.
Yeah, but
Like you get one and then, you know, you're operating a building for 100 years, you don't have to renew a C of O.
right, but there's also buildings that have been around for over 100 years that don't have a C of O, and it causes a lot of problems. There's churches that don't have it. There's even like department store type things, or I don't know if Target's legally considered a department store by New York City. I don't think it is, but there are Targets that don't have C of Os as well in the city.
Very interesting, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Oh, I have a question. I have a question.
Oh, wait, sorry, one more question.
Hi, this is Kat. I am wondering about the contracts for the city. How many of those contracts in general are like single applier contracts? Like the ones that are saying basically like, oh, this service is so unique that only this supplier can provide it. The reason I ask is because this is how MWBEs get discriminated against in terms of being able to access government contracts.
Yeah, I don't know the number, but we actually just published the annual contract report. I think it was this week or maybe the week before. That information, I'm pretty sure, is in that report. I don't know it offhand, and I'm not sure exactly how to find it very quickly. But if you go to our website in the report section, the annual contracts report's there, and it's got tons and tons of information. I know a lot of lay people aren't going to want to read it. It's a lot of technical stuff. You know, it's mandated that we do it. It should have the info there, but there are quite a bit of them, and that's why we've advocated at our office to allow for MWBEs to be eligible for certain contracts, especially smaller ones, so you can speed up the procurement process or make it less arduous for smaller contracts because of what you just said. But yeah, there's a sizable amount, you know. There's just some companies that are really, really big and just do more specialized services. And also the agencies tend to like doing business with companies that they have done business with for a long time, they know can do the work. So then they definitely, you know, have a bias towards them and definitely favor them. At least that's our interpretation of what's going on.
Yeah, one of the things that is also somewhat difficult for MWBEs is the fact that there are non-MWBEs on Long Island who are able to work without union requirements, whereas if they're in the city, they are required to have certain union items, which means that their bids are higher, and it makes it difficult for them to get it. So I understand that like there's a report that I can read. I'm a technical person. I will go and read those things. But I just wanted to bring to your attention, you know, some of these systemic factors that, and to the comptroller's office's attention, some of these systemic factors that, you know, we've encountered as my organization is supporting small businesses, especially as a vendor of the Empire State Development Corporation for New York City and Long Island on creative business supports.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, if you want to put anything specific in writing, you can definitely do that as well. I'm happy to take it. And my email is jmongel@comptroller.nyc.gov. That's jmongel@comptroller.nyc.gov. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, James, and welcome back from paternity leave, and congratulations. All right, Claire from Borough Hall.
Hi guys, my name's Claire. I'm the Community Board 2 liaison from Borough President Donovan Richards. The Community Board applications are still open, but they're about to close on February 14th, Valentine's Day, so it's not too late to apply. If you apply, make sure you also schedule the interview. And yeah, we are going to do all the interviews before the end of the month. And if you're a current community board member and you're not sure of your current status of needing to reapply, email our Director of Community Boards, Michael Carlier at mcarlier@queensbp.nyc.gov. And then we're gonna announce all the appointments or give the notices out via email in late March. Moving on to events. This Saturday, February 8th, we're hosting a FAFSA financial aid workshop at from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Queensborough Hall. You got to RSVP for that one on the website. And then on February 20th at 6 p.m., we're hosting a Dominican Independence Day celebration at Borough Hall. And on February 25th at 6 p.m., we're hosting our monthly hybrid parent advisory board meeting. And if you want to be in person, that one's going to be at 118-35 Queens Boulevard in Forest Hills. And yeah, all the information's on our website as usual for the Zoom and everything. And then February 26th is our Black History Month celebration at Queensborough Hall. And then on February 27th, we're hosting our North Queens Town Hall. It's in Bayside. Doesn't really apply to this, but it's gonna be, Queensborough Community College. And yeah, that's everything. Ooh, right on time. Let's go.
I have a question. This is Kat. When is the borough president funding deadline?
Like the capital
The
allocation?
discretionary.
Let's talk offline about that. Yeah. Any more questions? Yeah?
Yes, forgive me if this is very clearly answered on the website, but it's probably relevant to a bunch of us. Is an interview required for existing board members who are reapplying?
No, it's just for new applicants.
Okay, because I don't remember that before. Thank you.
New applicants interview.
I was very happy I didn't have to write paragraphs again.
Yeah, we good? All right, start the meeting soon.
All right, Javier Figueroa is here from District Attorney Melinda Katz's office, but no update. But if you have any questions, please find him offline. Andrew Thomas from Sunnyside Community Services. The best way to have a record public comment is by not giving one.
Good evening. So I have 3 quick updates in relation to Sunnyside Community Services. So pre-K, it's the pre-K enrollment season for the upcoming school year. SCS do have a pre-K here on site. To apply for pre-K, however, please visit the Department of Education website for enrollment information. Also, pre-K, 3K is free for students age 3 for school year 2025-26. Your child must turn 3 by December 31st this year. For pre-K, it's free for students age 4 for school year 2025 to 2026. Your child must be 4 by December 31st as well. So again, reminder, you have to go to the DOE website to get that information. I also want to highlight our Elder Justice Program here at SCS. Our Elder Justice Program supports older adults over 60 of age who are experiencing emotional or physical abuse, neglect, financial exploitation, or other circumstances that limit their independence. Here at Sunnyside, we can provide case assistance, counseling, crisis intervention, support groups, transportation, and referral for legal services. So, and there are some information in the back that outlines this program as well. Just want to also share that our Social Adult Day program here that is geared for dementia or Alzheimer's disease, we do have slots available to enroll any participants in the program. It's very similar to our senior center. However, it's really an individualized care that provide one-on-one supervision. So if you know a neighbor, a loved one who has Alzheimer's and needs support, oftentimes we don't think about the caregiver, the daughter who's caring for someone. Please reach out to us. We'll be happy to support that. Any questions? Hey, Roz.
So, hi. For that Dementia Alzheimer's Day program, does Sunnyside Community Services provide any assistance with helping the person get from home to, because they're not really as capable of
Oh,
traveling?
absolutely, and I missed that important piece. So we do provide door-to-door transportation in our Social Adult Day. It's a 5-hour program. We also provide a meal. And we also have programming that is virtual. So for those who are unable to join us on site, what we do is have sort of like an abridged program where individuals can participate in activities virtually as well. You're welcome. Any other questions? Thank you.
I think that concludes our comments from representatives and public officials. We're going to move on to public comment now. We do actually have a packed public comment list, so I'm going to strictly enforce the 2-minute timeline. But I'll start with usually Sacramento. You signed up 1 month ago.
Hi everyone. So I have some questions and concerns, also like feedback about the one LIC proposal, and I wanted to know if it's best to voice those concerns here or somehow contact Julie Wan's office directly.
You have 1 minute and 50 seconds to voice any concerns you'd like.
Okay, yeah, I think it would be best to like reach out to her directly. How do I get that information?
Yeah, there's a website. You can send an email that way. It was at district26 at council.nyc.gov. And Nick, if you want to drop that in the chat, or I will drop that in the chat, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if you, this is also your time to be heard by the
Yeah,
representative of
but
the office.
also like it's like a lot, so also I don't know if I have time. But I guess just a quick question. I know that they did like a survey. How else are they trying to reach out residents? Because I know like this proposal is around Queensbridge and doesn't directly include the residents, but how is like I guess the council making sure that they hear out these residents' concerns?
1 second.
Hey there. So it's funny, I can't really see you, but speaking directly to you on Zoom. But I'm Nick. I'm Julie Wan's chief of staff. And so there's a few things I would just say. One, we've sent a mailer to all across Long Island City, so every resident in Queensbridge received a physical piece of mail. We had folks knock on doors in Queensbridge. So everybody had at least 3 or 4 knocks on their door and was asked to fill out a survey. There have been tabling events at multiple events, whether that was Family Day, back to school giveaways, turkey giveaways around Thanksgiving. So all of the sort of regular community events, also partnering with the resident association to get the word out. So, in terms of like grassroots outreach and making sure that folks are heard, there's been a lot of activities like that. The survey that was conducted had several hundred Queensbridge residents who filled it out. We're going to be releasing that sort of the results from that survey very soon. I think we can always sort of disagree on some level in terms of like what is deep community outreach, but certainly I think unprecedented in what I've personally seen in about like 15 years in government about just in terms of getting the word out, right? Like not many folks will send you the postcard, knock on your door four times, go to every single community event, partner with the Residents Association and community center there and other things. So including as many voices from the residents in the process as possible has been really key. Also, Robin Hood Foundation actually has funded a stipended sort of program where residents, particularly folks who wouldn't otherwise be able to come out to meetings, who have like childcare obligations, who have other sort of structural barriers to participation, would give them a stipend to participate. So we've had a number of groups who participated from Queensbridge, of residents who received a stipend specifically to participate and to share their thoughts. So all that is sort of taking place in the process to reach out to residents in Queensbridge.
Okay, thank you for the information. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Nick. Thank you, Yusri. Next is Tom Matuzis. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Tom Matuzis, resident of Blissville section of Long Island City and secretary to the Blissville Civic Association. First up, I'd like to express gratitude to the board and specifically Debbie Markella, district manager, on behalf of all those residing and sheltering in Blissville, for your testimony at the Queensborough President's hearing on the budget. Thank you for including many initiatives and items that are paramount to enhancing the lives of all those living and sheltering in Blissville. Second, I respectfully submit to the board the Blissville Civic Association's items of significance for 2025 in the hope that the board and the various committees will, as they have done in the past, champion these needs throughout the year on behalf of all of us living and sheltering in Blissville. This year, we have included items related to green space and environment, namely 29th Street Park, the Dutch Hills Loop, completion of the Blissville Veterans Memorial, Newtown Creek Superfund cleanup, and our tree canopy. Second, our infrastructure needs, specifically our concerns with the sewers and the sewer backflows into our homes, street safety, be it the Paws Borden Avenue Star and Review Avenue DOT project, a variety of concerns with our streets, and our sidewalks that have now been taken over by trucks and cars. And finally, on our list is the needs of our most vulnerable residing in our shelters. Thank you so much for your time and attention. I wish everyone a very good evening.
Thank you, Tom, and good to see you on that side of the fence. All right, next, Leo, Vishnu, Dan, Barry. Please feel free to line up, and we'll start with Leo.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. I saw with the draft proposal for 1LIC on the agenda today, it was a good opportunity to come back and comment again. You've heard me before. Just wanted to reiterate that I'm overall excited to have new housing, new public spaces, overall just a chance to make the community better. In particular, I guess in terms of like how it affects me, seeing people I know, like who, friends who, are well off, but feel like they have to move out of the city when, for affordability reasons or like when they decided to have kids because it's hard to afford that here. Showing just leadership as a community to make it so more people can afford to stay here in future generations and not have that story repeat itself. I would say the city has shown it's taking its first steps towards really addressing the housing crisis with, City of Yes. But I would like to see Long Island City continue to lead for what a neighborhood can do. Also, in terms of funding or the recent meeting related to public sites, I think we have a really big opportunity with a BOE building to make that. We've heard that it'll take a lot of work, that's expensive to, make it usable again. But I think that's one where we really need to advocate for getting the funding to make that a transformative space that gives us new waterfront access, new housing, and make that housing really affordable. So overall, just excited to have an opportunity to welcome more people to the community to stay longer. Thank you, everyone.
Vishnu?
Sometimes. Hi, my name is Vishnu. I live in Sunnyside, just a couple blocks from here. As many of y'all probably know, there is currently a neighborhood plan called 1 LIC underway in a currently underutilized section of Long Island City. And while I know it's going to be a little while before CB2 gets involved in the ULIP for this, I wanted to come out early and express my strong enthusiasm and support for the neighborhood plan. When I walk around that area right now, I see a lot of unmet potential. There are car repair shops, empty lots, and storage facilities in the most transit-rich part of Queens, not because people want that, but because we aren't allowed to do anything else with that land. When you look north from the platform at Queensboro Plaza, you see a massive empty lot, which is such a wasted opportunity. It really doesn't fit in with the surrounding context, and I'm excited about 1 LIC being a solution. The 1 LIC plan would bring new homes to put a dent in the housing shortage, and especially lots of income-restricted affordable housing. It would bring better access to the waterfront, which would build off the success we see with the beautiful public spaces we have at Gantry Plaza State Park and Hunters Point South Park. Thank you for your time, and I encourage the board to support the 1 LIC plan.
Hi, my name is Dan. I live nearby in Astoria, and I just wanted to urge the board to support the 1 LIC rezoning plan. Specifically, I'm a market rate renter, which means that every year when my lease is up for renewal, I have to worry about my rent rising. And the more supply we build, especially the more market rate supply, I want to speak on behalf of that. Because the more we build, the higher supply is, and the less chance there is that my rent rises and I have to look for a new apartment or even move out of the city entirely. We know that rents respond to supply and demand the same as any other commodity, the same as eggs. We see it at the grocery store, and we see it when we try and renew a lease. So I just want to urge you to maximize the quantity of housing that gets built. Build as much as we can, market rate and affordable. Every type of housing helps more people live in this amazing city, and every type of housing helps existing New Yorkers stay in their homes if they want to, or find a newer, better, a bigger apartment as their family grows, as the situation changes. New York needs more housing of all types, including market rate, and I want to urge you to support 1 LIC and just build as much as we can, because this place is amazing and I want more people to be able to enjoy it. Thank you.
You realize there's no 1 LIC plan yet.
Sure, but
I mean, that's what you're asking people to support a plan, but it's not a plan that we've actually seen yet.
I think there's plenty of details out there to support the things that I said in my comment, and I think that I'm urging the board to take a broad position that is generally in favor of more supply. I don't think that's a crazy ask.
No, but you said support the plan. There is no plan. I just want to correct that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan. Is Barry Dross here? Oh, hi.
Thank you. My name is Barry Dress, and I'm involved in transportation issues, but I'd like to talk about something that's going on. In Midtown Manhattan, they're planning 30 new buildings, and 5 of them are super tall. The JP Morgan Chase building has occupancy for 14,000 people, and there are 5 of these buildings. And with 30 buildings there, I figure you're talking about an additional 200,000 more people will be working in Midtown Manhattan, and the implications on transportation are not very good. I figure that 45,000 will be using cars of the 200,000 people. The others will be using mass transit. We need additional mass transit. And I think we need to run bus rapid transit into the city to reduce the impact on our roadways, because our neighborhood is a direct connection to the 59th Street Bridge, which is a main artery into Manhattan. So we have to do something. It's important. These 30 buildings are due to be constructed by the year 2030. And our transportation system is getting worse and worse every year. It's an old system and we need new blood. The bus rapid transit operation I have in mind would have no buses stopping at lights, much like ambulances and fire trucks and police cars. So it would run faster than cars and people would be encouraged to use the bus because they could get there faster. And we should be building these type of systems. Unfortunately, the MTA is looking to reduce the stops on buses to make buses run faster. I don't think that's a great solution, but we have to do something. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Barry. Amelia, Cardan.
Hi there. Thank you, Anatole. Apologies I couldn't be there in person. My name is Amelia. I'm a resident of the Hunters Point South waterfront, and I'd like to just voice my support for the draft 1LIC proposal that Councilmember Julie Wan's office has been working on and proposing. As someone who lives in the area, I can't go on enough more about how much we need more housing in the area, how much I'd love to see that area of the waterfront developed so that me and my family can enjoy the park space, so that we have more neighbors, so that we have more businesses in our area. But as a trans person especially, we need to reduce the cost of housing in New York so that trans people, queer people, women from across the country who are facing persecution due to President Trump's executive orders and otherwise intolerant state legislatures are able to viably see New York City as an option, as a place to live, to find home. We're not an actual refuge or a viable refuge for people if we pass laws protecting trans people's rights, but if it's too expensive to find housing here. I'm grateful that I live in income-restricted housing on the waterfront right now, but this opportunity shouldn't be limited to people just like myself. It should be open to anyone who wants it. And I believe that having new housing on the waterfront in LIC, as well as everywhere in the district in general, as Dan said, is critical to that point. I'd also like to echo Tom's points about focusing and putting priority support on Blissville. Blissville is, as everyone knows here, a very ignored and under-resourced neighborhood. The BCA's items of importance is an excellent list that they develop each year, and we really should put some support on that because as someone who biking through that area is always makes me feel like I'm about to lose my head. And the folks that bike through there, the folks that live there deserve to be treated more than just as an afterthought. Thank you.
Thanks, Amelia. Mia Conrad. I think you're on Zoom.
Hey, yes, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask for some more clarification on the City of Yes plan and concretely what's going to be happening specifically in our neighborhoods that's going to be changed by the plan. Yeah.
Do we have an answer right now? I don't think we do. Yeah, it passed, and And now it's in the ether. And now we'll see what happens next, right? Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yeah. Yeah, once it passed, then it, that was pretty much the next step of it. And now we're all waiting to hear more. But thank you, Mia. Okay, Scott Lester? Yep.
Hi, everyone. I'm Scott Lester. I'm a resident of the Queens. Hey, everyone. I'm Scott Lester. I'm a resident of the Queens Plaza area, and I'm here to discuss the neglected state of Dutch Kills Green in Queen Plaza. Many of you may not realize this, but the NYC Parks doesn't actually have jurisdiction over Dutch Kills Green. It's actually in the Department of Transportation. They were part of the original Queens Plaza improvement project, so that's why it lives within their jurisdiction. Unfortunately, the DOT is not a parks agency, and it shows. When I reached out to the DOT, their response was focused on bike lane signage, street lighting around Crescent Street, and roadway improvements. And I think while we all really appreciate any improvements to our neighborhood, that's not park maintenance. In the same email response, the Department of Transportation Deputy Borough Commissioner claims they're having discussions about feasible replacements to the broken benches and graffiti. Discussions aren't actions. This park has sat in neglect since Citibank's departure from the Adopt a Park program years ago. Trash piles up, vegetation is overgrown, and the benches remain broken with graffiti. Even tonight, there were garbage bags piled up around the bins as I came to this meeting. The reality is Dutch Kills Green is treated more like a traffic median than a community park. This is a public green space. It's one of the few in our area. It should be available for residents, for workers to have a calm place to sit, and it's not. It should be maintained like a real park and not an afterthought. From my research, we have 3 potential options. Jurisdictional transfer, where we formally request NYC Parks to take over Dominion. Dedicated DOT maintenance. If they keep control, they should provide actual routine maintenance in a timely manner and not just street repairs. Or a public-private partnership, similar to the Adopt a Program Citibank funded years ago. I'm here to garner support for a formal request for better maintenance and explore jurisdictional transfer to NYC Parks. And I appreciate your time tonight.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. I live by Queens Plaza as well. What can we do to move this along?
And that's really, I needed support. I've worked for months to even try to find a contact that I could talk to at the Department of Transportation. So I was I have their information that I'm happy to supply to anybody else that wants to reach out to just make our voices heard and get some community involvement. I think that's the big piece here.
I mean, I'm happy to write as someone who lives there, but I think the board should write as well.
I was going to say, can't we just send this to the Parks Committee?
I did try to talk to them too, and they said that there was nothing that they could do because it was out of their jurisdiction.
Our committee said that?
Oh, I'm sorry, no shade.
Hello? Okay. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. I think this is also something we can maybe bring to the LIC partnership's attention in terms of public-private support, especially since they just expanded their bid. Maybe this falls under the types of services. It's right in front of their building. And then I'm also happy to elevate this to the folks at DOT Public Realm that we are currently working with in conjunction with the partnership in regards to the DRI projects that are coming into the neighborhood. So thank you for bringing that up.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your thoughtful comments, for bringing this to our attention, and for your research. I'm just curious if you're aware of any other public, passive recreation spaces with benches, et cetera, that are operated successfully by DOT? Or, do they have any track record? Is there a reason to think that they're able to to maintain this type of space?
Very preliminary research. I finally got a contact 2 weeks ago, but from what I'm seeing, it just doesn't seem to be the case that they have the capability to do any type of maintenance in there. They did put down a sticker in the bike lane to say caution for pedestrians right after I wrote, but I'm not quite sure that's what I was asking for.
So I mean, it sounds like your recommendation on some level is either transfer to Parks Department or a public-private arrangement.
Honestly, yes. I think my first preference from what I'm looking at would be a jurisdictional transfer. And then if we can't do that, there are so many businesses coming to Long Island City, I'm sure we can find someone to do an Adopt a Park program with us. And I'm
Thank
happy
you.
to give my information to anybody that wants to help me get involved.
Charles, you don't have to come off mute or turn your camera on, but just take note of of what we're asking for the LIC bit. Sorry, Scott, you have one more question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Hi. Do you have any reason? Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Do you have any reason to believe that the Parks Department would be interested? Have you talked to them? I mean,
In the email from the Parks Department, they said they would love to help, that they just can't do anything with it without being in their jurisdiction. So it does sound like there would be appetite if we could get some type of jurisdictional transfer.
we did have recently a hearing down at City Hall about the demapping parcel over by the LIE and Van Dam. And that also is a DOT place. And I had the same question, why isn't it really in the hands of parks?
Thanks for your time.
All right, Charles Wang. Oh, right. Then Mr. Gallagher. Yeah, if you want to come up.
Hello, I'm Charles Wang. I live in Dutch Kills, and I'm here to express my support for the 1LIC proposal. I've spent pretty much my entire working life in high cost of living areas, either this coast or the other one, and the one constant every year is that rent seems to ratchet up, and the only times it comes down is when something happens that makes the city a less attractive place to live, like a pandemic or misgovernance. And by contrast, I have a number of colleagues and friends living in places like Denver or Austin or Minneapolis who have seen their rents stabilize or even decrease in response to increased housing stock. So clearly, supply and demand are real things that work. And I would also like to frame this in terms of abundance. I think a number of my preceding, a number of the speakers before me have expressed concerns that would be helped by more money, more housing, more people, right? And I think it's very important for New York City to adopt this mindset of continued growth and continued abundance, instead of becoming, an unaffordable playground where only people who've, kind of had the luck to be incumbents here or have lots of money can make it. We need to make it affordable to people of all kinds, the upwardly mobile, creatives, bohemians, that kind of thing. And to do that, we need to grow our population, economy, and tax base to pay for all the things that people have talked about. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kieran Gallagher. I'm a resident of Sunnyside here. And I also feel that I live here by the mercy of my landlord. And every lease renewal is like a sword of Damocles over my head. And I wanted to speak with the draft plan of 1LIC coming up and just say that we heard from a number of council representatives, elected officials, that they want to get the maximum out of the 1LIC plan. And my question to them is, the maximum of what? Because for me, as someone who wants to start a family here, who loves living in the city, the maximum that we need is housing. And so I would just say, let's not, as we start to debate this plan, as we start to put finer details on it, let's not hold relief for ransom. Because so many times I hear people say, oh, in order to increase the density that will allow, there has to be this provided, there has to be that provided. We have the tax system. We have the power to take what we need to provide for the public, provide for our public spaces, but we shouldn't hold the amount of housing that we will allow for ransom as we look to do so. So I want to say, uncap the density that we allow, uncap the population, because we have lost a congressional district in New York. That has given Trump more power. We have lost part of our voice in Congress because we do not permit housing and because our citizens are fleeing for high prices. So let's uncap our own power and the amount of housing that we can have in one LIC. Thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew from Chaya. Oh, hi. And after that, Nina Young.
Good evening, board members and members of the community. My name is Matthew Suknanan. I am an organizer with the Base Coalition. District 2 is a part of the new state proposal that legalizes basement units in the city. And while District 2 is the only district included that's in Queens, it's really important that we sort of push this proposal forward and don't let it go to waste. The current system doesn't protect homeowners or tenants in any way, and we really need city implementation to be put forward at this first. Being a basement tenant myself, I feel like it's so important to have safe and affordable basements that can actually save lives and increase housing stock. I call on the community board and members of the community to urge the city, whether it's city council or the mayor's office, to create a basement conversion task force that allows this plan to be like properly implemented. There isn't time, there's like a 2029 cap on the state proposal. So if it isn't done before then, it just all goes to waste. So please reach out to me to get involved with homeowners and tenants throughout the city who are also fighting for safe and legal basement apartments. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. Nina Young.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Good evening. My name is Nina Young. I'm a member of the Abolish the Tax Lien Coalition. And while we haven't quite done that yet, we have certain activities that we are conducting to mitigate for the next tax lien sale, which is going to be May 20th, 2025. And so we're looking, to for volunteers to do door knocking or flyering. Once we get these lists, the lists will be made public on the DOF, the Department of Finance website. According to them, it will be made available February 12th. And the site will be www.nyc.gov/lien sale, LIENSALE. Okay. And so, yeah, if anybody is interested in learning more, please email me at nisoyo, NISOYO @gmail.com. And, I would love to get together a group of volunteers to do some door knocking. If you'd like to become an endorser of the coalition, that's also possible as an individual. If you are a group or an organization, please email me also, and we can have you join. And of course, I actually don't know if Council Member Wan has signed on to our bills, but I ask you, please sign on to the bills. Intro 783-2024, Intro 782-2024, and and those two. Okay, so thank you very much for your time. Again, my email is nisoyo@gmail.com.
Nina,
And Nick, was that a yes? Okay, so the council member one has signed on.
Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tina. All right.
Kat, I think Kat has a question.
Oh, sorry, Kat has a question. Go ahead.
question. Can you just help me understand like what, and maybe just share with everyone, like very, very briefly, like what are you trying to accomplish and why?
So, okay, so basically, when a property owner doesn't pay their taxes on time, maybe they owe on water, sewer, and just the property taxes. What happens is the city sells the debt to a tax lien trust made up of private investors. And basically, you create a situation where predatory speculators are going to people's houses and trying to get them to sell their house or apartment. And we want to get to homeowners before they do, because again, what happens is, if they're on this list, then, the tax lien trust ends up sending threatening bills, high interest accumulates, and foreclosure, basically a foreclosure action can occur, and then the person's house is auctioned off to the highest bidder. So the coalition wants to, honestly want to get rid of this whole city-run system to keep people in their homes and not contribute further to our unhoused population. So yeah, our goals, right, overall is to abolish the system, but in the meantime, this is what we're trying to do and get to people before they get put on this list. And yeah, there are a couple of ways now that, a person can get off, if they sign up for a payment plan, if they apply for an exemption. There's also going to be an easy exit application process that's also going to be on that same website. And yes, and so in different ways, the coalition is trying to reach these folks to get them off that list.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nina. That's it for our public comment section. So we'll close that there now. And now we'll move on to our first order of business, which is the landmark application at 2120 45th Avenue. Do we, sorry? Oh, the applicant is here. Great. So please come up here. And do you have a presentation or anything?
No, I figured you'd have slides that was emailed, but maybe I could quickly describe the project, but I don't have the
slides.
That was emailed over, in case you need it. I believe you also have a PDF file on the computer for the email.
Debbie, do we have this digital to share?
Maybe I could describe it real quickly. Good evening, my name is Victor Han. I'm the architect and applicant on behalf of the owner for the property 21-20 45th Avenue. The property is located in the Hunters Point Historic District. Therefore, any renovation enlargements requires a New York City Landmarks Preservation Commission review and approval. As part of their review and approval process, the application gets referred over to the community board. I'm sure you already know that, for your comments, recommendations, and anything else that you may have in terms of the application itself or the review of the application. The application does not seek any relief, whether it's the zoning resolution, building code, or fire code. It's before the Landmarks Commission specifically because it is located in the historic district. The proposal is to replace the existing basement sunroom that's already there in the rear yard. We're going to reframe that so that we could add 2 floors above the existing sunroom. The sunroom comes out approximately 20 feet. We're only coming out on the first and second floor approximately 10 feet. Rear yard at the basement level will be about 38 feet. Rear yard at the first and second floor level will be about 48 feet. So we will far exceed the 30 feet minimum requirement for the rear yard. Floor area, we're below what the zoning permits. Height, lot coverage, we're below whatever the zoning requirements are. You will not see the project from the street level, which is the critical because of the streetscape that you want to maintain in the historic district. And with that, we're not, it's an existing mother and daughter or two-family home. We're not changing the number of dwellings. It's going to stay as a mother and daughter, actually mother and son. But the enlargement is 10 feet on the first floor, which will allow for an extension for a dining room adjacent to the kitchen. And on the second floor, 10 additional feet would allow for bedrooms for the two sons that he has. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Yeah.
Certainly. If you look at that would be a quick. Sorry, if you'll take the mic, please. Okay, if you'll see, on the left is the existing building, and what we have is a silhouette of the proposed enlargement. The basement sunroom, and you can see an outline here. There is an existing one-story sunroom that was previously approved by Landmarks and the Department of Buildings. So what we're going to do is replace that because it's a glass and wood frame structure. Obviously, you're not going to be able to add 2 stories above that. So we're going to replace that, we're going to frame that, reframe that, and we're going to add 2 floors. So the first floor, as I mentioned, it allows for a dining area where you could walk out to the top of that sunroom, so to speak. It gives you a 10-foot terrace, similar to the building that's immediately to the left, as well as on the right. They both have walkouts from the kitchen area. Second floor, we're extending it 10 feet so that we could have 2 bedrooms that could also extend out 10 feet for the children. One of the critical items were the spacing of the windows, the location of the windows. We try to maintain that throughout the whole rear of the building, the complex of buildings. We also wanted to maintain the height of the roof eave, which we did. Unfortunately, the building, 2 buildings over, as well as the building after that, didn't quite match that. I think it went through Landmarks, but I don't think they actually built it according to what the Landmarks reviewed. Landmarks was out there with me 2 weeks ago, and they had some question marks about the other buildings. But at this point, the proposal, they understood we are trying to maintain the same stucco features, colors, lintels on top of the windows, sills, the color of the windows, the size of the windows, all of that we're going to respect, except on the first floor where we have the walkout. And that type of walkout is very similar to the building that is to the left as well as to the right. So we're trying to maintain the rear facade as well, or the look of the building. Sure. Yes.
Sorry,
It should be the
Christine,
first
hang on.
page.
Wait, can we get her the mic? And do we vote on this today?
Yes.
We do, okay.
Yes.
Right.
So just so everyone on the board understands, it's confusing because of the similar sounding addresses, but this is not in Sunnyside Gardens. This is in Long Island City.
Correct.
Where the rear of the block is not at all visible from the public view.
That is
unlike
correct.
the semi-private courtyards of Sunnyside Gardens, which are, to some degree visible. So it's just a different situation.
Correct. There's no
just so
rear yard
everybody-
egress, easements, there's no fire escapes. These are all pretty much 1 or 2 family homes.
Right. Okay, thank you. Just
Thank you.
wanted everybody to understand.
Christine, do you want to just quickly summarize Land Use Committee's recommendation?
If you think that's appropriate at this point in the hearing.
Lisa, I think you used to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, so the Land Use and Housing Committee voted to recommend support for this application.
Thank you.
All right, DCP can't be here today, so we're going to skip the 1LIC draft zoning proposal. Well, I guess we'll talk about it during. Oh, I'm sorry. For this issue, is anyone here to testify? Online? Nope. Good. Okay. And then we'll save our LIC, we'll save our draft discussion during land use committee report section. All right, so Ryan, let's do attendance.
All right, good evening. We'll start off with Amparo Applebay. Nelly Afshar. Anatol Ashraf. John Bahia. Absent. Anne-Marie Baranowski. All right. Carisha Batan. Nick Berkowitz.
Here.
Online. Okay. Cap Bloomfield.
Here online.
All right, thanks. Danielle Brecker. Carlos Castel-Croak. Lisa Charles. Absent. Tanya Chavez.
Here, online.
Thanks. Osman Chowdhury. Steve Cooper is excused. Warren Davis. Lisa Deller. Maury Gallinoy. Absent. Okay. Somnath Kumir. Dr. Raz Chanutsas. Alexandra Gonzalez.
Present, online.
Camille Gray. Kenny Greenberg. Mohammed Hossein. Christine Hunter. Leland Kendall, excused. Yeah. Badroon Khan. Absent. Diana Kitchler. James Kim.
Here online.
Okay, thanks. Prameet Kumar. Chimang Lama.
Here online.
Sheila Lewandowski, excused. Benjamin Lucas. Absent. Patrick Martinez. Eric Narberg. Andy Olivares. Excused. Zishan Ott. Absent. Riley Owens. Jolly Patel. Maya Saab.
Here, online.
All right, thanks. Norberto Saldana. Excused. Laura Shepard. Ryan Smith, that's me, I'm here. Caroline Spitzer.
Present, online.
All right, thanks. Lauren Springer. Absent. Kello Thomas.
Good evening. I'm here online.
Thank you. Leticia Vasquez. And Michael Zurab. All right, thank you very much.
Amazing. Thanks, Ryan. Next is the approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes for January 2025. And I'll second. Any discussion? Okay. Any? So a show of hands, all in favor of approving the minutes for January 2025. Any? One abstention. Okay. All right. Motion passes with one abstention. Okay, I will try to keep my comments brief. Yeah, it was a really moving to be at Congresswoman Nydia Velasquez's immigration roundtable. Thank you to all of our electeds, and thank you, Tiffany, for helping organize that. I think for me, the main takeaways are knowing that the city council is committed to its sanctuary city laws, as was reported by Councilwoman Aviles, yes, exactly. Yeah, know your rights. Know your rights, know them backwards and forwards, inside and out, and tell anybody who you think needs to know it. Yeah, know your rights, and call your representatives. That's all I can, that's all I'll say. That's what stood out to me. Next, I'll do one boring thing, one unpleasant thing, and then a positive thing. So the boring stuff is calendar invites. Thank you, Debbie, for making sure that they're being sent out for the full board meeting. Now the next step, please also let's make sure that committee meeting calendar invites go out to committee members, as well as public members of those committees. That would be super helpful. Now for committees. Yeah, so they can get the invites as well. For example, Andrea from SCS. Okay, just a reminder about conduct, our conduct as board members. No matter how frustrating an issue is, everyone here is a guest. Respect to everyone, and in particular, we are a city agency, and our representatives and colleagues over there are effectively our colleagues. So we should show everyone that respect. There's feedback and accountability and dialogue, and there's appropriate ways to do that. And then there's grandstanding. There's auditioning for something. So feel free to do that, but not at the expense of our colleagues. Yeah, so just a reminder. And of course, as also another reminder, we all signed the code of conduct, the Borough President's Code of Conduct. So we are held to that. And that also does expand to public committee members. So, just so you're aware. And speaking of public committee members, there was some confusion and questions about what does the role, what does it all entail? So we'll set up a session, like an onboarding training session for public committee members. And also so you can all get to know each other. All right, and then just finally, I'm gonna let Tanya and Patrick talk more about it. But again, congrats on an awesome code drive to Tanya, Leticia, Somnath, Warren, Eric for showing up. And special shout out to Tanya. She showed up with a crutch for this thing, for the delivery. So yeah, badass. If pardon my foreign language. All right. And sorry, just as a reminder, because folks have asked, those of us who are up for reappointment, Nelly Afshar, myself, Anatol Ashraf, Anne-Marie Baranowski, Kat Bloomfield, Daniel Brecker, Carlos Castel-Crook, Warren Davis, Somnath Kimiri, Dr. Raj Janutsas, Camille Gray, Mohammed Hussain, Christine Hunter, Lillian Kendall, Badrun Khan, Diana Kitcheler, Pramit Kumar, Eric Narberg, Zishan Ott, Umay Asab, Laura Shepard, Mary Torres, and Leticia Vasquez. All right, that's it for me.
I will be quick. Let's just take a quick moment of silence for all those that perished in the plane crashes. Thank you. I attended as you heard, the Borough President Richards, where I presented the annual community board speech for FY26 budget. I thank the budget committee, our chair Anatol, and the executive committee for working on the speech with me. And we really appreciate that success, which is as we continue to advocate for our resources and our needs. Our parks manager, Monet Davis, is no longer covering boards 1 and 2. Eric Getz right now is taking over until someone else is assigned. Construction will start at Court Square around February 17th. Woodside Memorial, some good news for you, Carisha. You have another bulletin board, which was not in the Capitol, but I guess they found something, so they're adding it. So I just want to let you know that. They work very hard to get you your bulletin board, so we can soon start posting all of the events. So that's good news. I want to thank Kim Weber, our part-time employee who retired in January. She's been with us 17 years serving this board and doing a good job. So we wish her well on her new chapter of her life, and sad to see her go. But on another note, I thank the board, the committee, the personnel committee, the chair. We have a new employee. He started literally as of today, a month ago. So he's been coming up to speed. It's taking a little time, but it's all good. His name is Rafael Nava. He's good, so if you call the office and you hear a new voice, you'll know. And I know some of you have called and spoken with him, and so I've gotten some positive feedback, so I'm happy about that. And I know you've spoken to him and wished him well, so thank you. So I wanted to just let us all know, we had 9 complaints. We really had more, and some of them are duplicates, but we're not reporting the duplicates because it just doesn't seem, so we really have like double, but unique complaints we have, again, illegal vendor issues, dumping and garbage, DOS is number 1. Illegally parked cars is way up there, and I had my cabinet meeting, so we're making sure that we're advocating for the district. From Long Island City to Blissville, we have a lot of bad actors, and we want to make sure that we get a lot of enforcement for that. So I wanted to let you know. And DEP, cave-ins and dirty rain gardens is number 3, Laura. So we need to make sure those get cleaned too. And DEP is great. Alfonso is working to set up another walkthrough, hopefully next week. So we're going to see if that can happen. I want to wish everybody happy Valentine's Day. We are closed for President's Day. It's a city holiday, February 17th. And the next meeting is March 6th, so just remember that. And anytime you have a complaint, don't just do it at a committee meeting. Send pictures, send your 311 complaints, send the locations. You know, some people send pictures and forget to send the location of where they are. So we have to follow up to get the locations, and we want to make sure. We do have a new captain in the 108th, and we're going to try to get him to come here. I think he's just starting around now sometime. So we're very grateful, and I guess we'll meet him soon enough. So thank you, everybody.
I had a quick question. Sorry,
yeah.
you gave me the mic. It's happening. Is there also, Debbie, is there also a new community affairs officer too in the 108, or did I mishear that announcement? Okay. So new captain, but the same. Okay.
Yeah, he's been there a while, Officer Maria, and it's still Detective Torres.
Okay,
So
cool. Thank you.
Our 2 guys are still the same.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, Debbie, is it possible for Raphael to come to one of our meetings so we all get a chance to sort of eyeball him and see him?
With time.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. There you go. Give him a chance to get his feet wet. And again, you know, for him to come, we'll see if maybe even virtually we could do something.
No, he's great. And yeah, let him figure out the phone systems first. All right. I think we'll start with, you know, since the agenda got shifted a bit, I think we'll start with land use.
Oh, wait, no, we don't need to do that.
Hi, everyone, and I think we'll start with the recommendation, or with, you know, concluding our public hearing and taking I don't know if there's, if anyone wants to make a motion regarding, sorry, Lisa. This is regarding the proposed enlargement in Long Island City.
Oh, sorry. Wait for the mic. If it was just a motion,
It's a motion. I'm going to make a motion to support I don't have the address, the 21-20 45th Avenue, Long Island City, let's see, enlargement of existing building within the landmark district proposal.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Who seconded?
Danielle?
Any discussion? No? Oh, sorry.
Just a brief question. It occurred to me, I mean, they're extending it further into the backyard, right? Are the neighbors next door, is this problematic for them? Was that discussed?
We did ask about that. We were informed that the neighbors, I believe, on either side, on either side, well, you could speak to this, are also doing changes and enlargements to their properties.
If you're looking at the back of the subject building, on the right, we're actually shorter than the building on the right in terms of the enlargement, but immediately to the left, they have not made the enlargement. However, the next building over, we're pretty much on line with that enlargement. So we were keeping there. You have that one building that is immediately to our left that hasn't been enlarged yet, although they replaced the windows and so forth, so they're probably going to get a violation soon. But that's the way it is. It pretty much matches the backscape of that block almost.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No, right? Call the question. Is it a roll call or show of hands? Oh, so we'll let Ryan do roll call.
Sorry to displace you, Christine. Thank you. All right, here we go. So easy for this one. Yes means yes to approve. Yeah. Amparo Abelbay. Yes. Nelly Afshar. Anatol Ashraf. Yes. John Bahia is absent. Anne Marie Baranowski. Yes. Carisha Batan. Yes. Nick Berkowitz.
Yes.
Kat Bloomfield.
Yes.
Danielle Brecker. Yes. Carlos Castelcroc. Yes. Tanya Chavez.
Yes.
Osman Chowdhury. Yes. Warren Davis. Lisa Deller. Sonath Gamir. Dr. Raz Janutzes.
Yes.
Alexandra Gonzalez is absent, I think.
Yes.
Camille, sorry, you're online? Okay.
Yes.
You voted yes? Perfect,
Correct.
thank you. Camille Gray. Kenny Greenberg. Mohammed Hossein. Yes. Christine Hunter.
Yes.
Diana Kitchler. James Kim.
Yes.
Prameet Kumar. Yes. Shemang Lama.
Yes.
Patrick Martinez. Yes. Eric Narberg. Yes. Riley Owens. Yes. Jolly Patel. Amaya Saab.
Yes.
Laura Shepard. Yes. Okay, I vote yes. Caroline Spitzer.
Yes. Yes.
Akello Thomas.
Yes.
Letitia Vasquez. And Michael Zurab. All right, motion carries.
Okay. Great. So just reporting on our land use, last land use meeting, we also had city planning, our city planning reps came to us and kind of at our request, gave us a somewhat more detailed breakdown of the zoning proposal itself, the nature of the zoning districts and why, which is quite complex, and why they are proposing their rationale for the range of districts that they're proposing throughout the area that they're proposing to change. So we had that report, but we also suggested that it would be helpful to the whole board to see that same report. So they were going to come tonight, but at their request, they had a different engagement, so they're going to come in March. So that is still pending, and you know, hopefully you all will have a lot of questions and take it seriously. Not that you wouldn't take it seriously, but I mean, It's a very large-scale plan. It may be among the largest scale rezonings that the city has done recently. It's going to change, it's going to change the neighborhood, the waterfront, the Queens waterfront substantially and for decades. So it's a lot of responsibility in terms of our looking at it. I just want to emphasize that I think as a community board, we really try and listen to, and historically have tried to listen to many aspects of the community. And historically, this was, especially this part of the district, was a manufacturing community. It still is. There's still large portions of the IBZ. While we are hearing a lot about housing and fully understand the priority that the city has for housing, I think we have an obligation to really look at the stated goals of every aspect of the community and try and balance them, and that may not be easy going forward. So I'll just say that we did, and I also just wanted the full board to be aware that late in the fall, we asked for and got a meeting with the council member's office where city planning was also part of the meeting, and just presented to them these draft points of agreement, which we tried to align to points that the council member actually has on her website: land use guiding principles for community engagement, affordability, community investment, and labor. So yes, I think there's a lot that we all have in, that everybody's looking at this in a similar way. Also to say that one of the goals, stated goals in the draft scope of work is the preservation and promotion of the manufacturing community. So I think tonight, I wanted everybody to be aware that this was out there. This is not a document that we have to entertain any motions on tonight, but we will, in a number of these other large-scale rezonings, such as Gowanus, which passed, I don't know, within the last year, right? And Atlantic Avenue, the city has just proposed another one for Midtown. It's a complex process. You look at the zoning actions, but then everybody, there's also other aspects of neighborhood planning and community planning that should ideally and ultimately have to be integrated into the process. So these points of agreements are ways of anticipating some of that and anticipating what we're really asking for from the plan, from the total neighborhood plan, which, as Lisa pointed out, does not really exist yet. So I think we're actually not as, we can take a little time if people want to make comments tonight. The other thing is that we based this, when we had this kind of preliminary meeting in November, or actually it was early December, we kind of based it on our draft scope of work comments. Since then, we've had a number of meetings with city planning at land use meetings. There have also been some public meetings where some more information has become available, or some more detail about what city planning is thinking. So I just wanted to make people a little aware of some of that as well. What else? Yeah. So I guess one piece that I would like everybody to know about, there was a workshop the most recent workshop on January 25th was about these public sites. And up until this point, they've kind of been, I think, blobs in most people's minds. Or, we have expressed a strong conviction as a board that we think the public sites should be maintained for public use and not simply RFP'd in one way or another to private developers for private development. And our request up to this point has also been, I think, that they prioritize open space and community facilities. That is, community facilities in the DOE building, which is the large building on the site. Yes. Wait, is it okay if I walk over here? Yeah. Yeah. So you all got this slide. It's a little hard to. There are actually two main sites. One is a very large site, which includes a large building currently owned by the Department of Education, and then a parking lot behind that, and then a site that's owned by the Department of Transportation. Thank you for me. Which is smaller. It's about 100 feet deep and a couple of 100 feet long, so it's not a small site, and is currently a parking lot. And then the part of the city planning proposal is to connect through that site, through the DOE site, with a new road. That would then connect two city streets, 44th Avenue and 44th Drive. So essentially, it would create a new loop road. And one of the pieces of information, so the original draft scope of work did not really, it identified some street remappings, but it didn't really include a diagram of the actual streets that they're proposing. So I think that helps to understand what they want to do with the site, which is to bring a road that's closer to the waterfront. And then another piece of information that they provided was that they've discovered, or through, that the Board of Education building has a major structural expansion joint which goes through the entire building. So that what that really means is that it would be relatively easy to save part of the building and not necessarily all of it. And that, I think, because it is such a large structure with so much deep, dark space inside it, and probably more square footage than, at this point, any given user can feasibly imagine using, it does maybe open up some possibilities for the site. And I think this is something we have to discuss more, but just for people's understanding, if you took that dotted line that goes through the building, if, for instance, you preserved the portion facing Vernon Boulevard and took down the portion facing west, that is facing the river, then you would potentially have a very large open space behind that building, which could in fact accommodate some of the types of real public recreational uses in addition to a walkway that we've been advocating for. And then the Department of Transportation site, which is separated by 44th Drive, could also accommodate types of 100% affordable housing, which it would be difficult, since all the other property is privately owned, which would be difficult to accommodate on any other type of property. And I just want to say this about affordable housing, that the affordable housing that's generated by the MIH process, the mandatory inclusionary process in private buildings, most typically, and perhaps always, is really family housing. The unit mix matches the unit mix in the rest of the building, but it's not housing that either it comes with special services or can accommodate people with special needs. So to the extent that we are definitely advocating for some of that type of housing, I think it also becomes an interesting possibility to think about the DOT site as a site for that. Yes, Roz.
Lake Vernon, is that what people call Lake?
No, Lake Vernon is north of these sites, and it's actually a privately owned site which had gradually sunk and become water-filled. Anybody update me, any Long Island City experts, but I believe at this point that the owner is assiduously filling that site so that it looks more like buildable land. In any case, that's not part of these publicly owned sites. So I just thought that was interesting information that I wanted kind of everybody to have. It maybe allows for a more nuanced response to what we might want to see on the public sites and maybe a more nuanced conversation, you know, with the council member. Yeah. Sorry?
The municipal arts
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to announce it? Or?
No, I don't have the date. Do you have the?
Yeah, sure. So I have the date. It's February 18th, which I think is a Tuesday night from 6 to 8. And who is it? It's the American Planning Association is actually sponsoring a panel discussion which will be held at Culture Lab and is going to include Anatole from CB2, representing CB2, and Lisa Gorin representing the Long Island City Coalition, and Memo from the Western Queens Land Trust. So that should be, I anticipate that that's probably going to be a well-attended event and get a lot of coverage, and I encourage everybody to come.
What have I done?
Excuse me? Is this a no-fly zone? You know, that was discussed, I think that question came up at the zoning, when DCP went over the zoning proposal with us, and they talked about it. Do you want?
They can build up to 700 feet as long as it doesn't interfere with but it's not a no-fly zone.
That's important, and the recent activities you see the. Wait for the mic. Yeah. This is the experience of the recent accident, the helicopter issues. And last meeting, some residents also complained about the helicopter, and a high-rise building in this particular Long Island City. I would recommend it as a total restriction should be added in the conclusion. Thank you.
And I think this is an excellent thing to bring up next month when or to ask questions about next month when city planning presents to the whole board on the zoning proposal. Yep. Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, so related to this waterfront workshop that happened, DCP and 1LIC and Julie Wan's office, they've released a survey, a public sites workshop survey. I'll put a link in the chat, but I think it might have gotten emailed out as well. I forget if it did. So I would encourage everyone to take the survey to make your voice heard on what you want to see with the public sites. And then the second thing about the Loop Road that Christine mentioned, we were told that we would get notification to the board sometime in January.
Yeah.
Have we gotten that yet? No? So we should follow up with DCP about what's happening with that.
Right.
Cool.
That's a separate public action, which requires a separate board action, which actually I personally not familiar with that board, that type of action, but hopefully it will be explained to us.
And just a point about the survey, you can be in essentially the CB2 district zip codes, right? Even though the survey doesn't say, Sunnyside, Woodside, doesn't call it out directly, you can still participate and make your comments known.
Yeah. And thanks to Carisha and others who really looked at the survey and made some suggestions to clarify some questions which were unclear, and I think DCP took those suggestions, right? So it was great. Sorry? It's online. It's an online survey.
And we'll send it out via email to board members again.
Right. One other thing I wanted to mention under Waterfront 3 is that our comment talks about the waterfront access plan should include widening of the standard 40-foot wide walkway to accommodate both anticipated bike and foot traffic, to include continuation of the Blissville LIC Greenway. I think what I've heard from city planning, and this is just information, is that that is not what they are anticipating. That is, they're looking at this as a pedestrian walkway along the waterfront, and the greenway would be, the continuation of the greenway would be on an inland street, I guess Vernon Boulevard. So that's just information about, I think, what they're actually thinking. You know, again, we, I think, have to craft our response in the future. Laura, did you want to?
Sure, sorry. Yeah, I think this point is worth discussing. I think there is a strong preference among a lot of the community to have a waterfront greenway that's on the waterfront. If Vernon, like that's for walking and biking and other forms of micromobility. If they are just going to keep it on Vernon, Vernon needs significant upgrades. It just does, because it's not continuous. What's there now is sort of a more operational temporary project. It's just paint and jersey barriers. It would need to really be a capital project, like on par with what we have in Hunters Point South. And given that nothing has happened yet, and this is the chance to get things right the first time, would definitely like to keep it in there that we want the waterfront greenway on the waterfront.
I would love to see this process, and this is partly speaking as an architect, but really come up with a more detailed and visual plan for this waterway. For this walkway, for the WAP, and also for the open spaces, you know, the non-walking spaces, but the actual variety of recreation spaces that would be part of it. Because I think that further south, the hugely successful parks at Gantry Park and Hunters Point South really come from that combination of, you know, a continuous walk with a whole variety of great open spaces. And so far, we've seen nothing proposed, really, which is why I'm mentioning that possibility, you know, behind the DOE building, because I think that would sort of could potentially provide a real anchor of a kind of, you know, community open space.
Oh, good, it's going. I think there was a lot of discussion and concern and somewhat confusion about the width of this walkway, and especially from people that are using mechanized wheelchairs and wanting it to be accessible and wide enough for them. And so I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's why I think we really need more detail, because the original language of a waterfront access plan was just this 40-foot width, which is not nearly enough wide enough to accommodate all these very valid uses that we're talking about, but also a resilient and non-hard edge to the waterfront, which I think everyone would also like to see. So it's a complex problem. That's really, I also urge everyone regarding the IBZ, I urge everyone to read the comments, which were mostly authored by Kenny Greenberg, who knows, I think, the most of anyone in this room about the complexities of really operating a business and realities of operating a business in Long Island City, and you know, what the challenges that the manufacturers face. So I think the board really, we owe it to ourselves and them to be realistic about this, and not just sort of accept the stated goal in the DSOW that they want to preserve manufacturing, when in fact, if in fact, some of the aspects of the plan are going to make it very hard to survive as a business. But also to mention that there is now a separate process, which I believe was mandated by the City Council to DCP to undertake this separate citywide study of IBZs. And I think that was referred to in their response about Blissville, which also presumably is going to include this IBZ. So it's a little frustrating to know that that's going on, these sort of two different studies are going on at the same time without necessarily speaking to each other. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I do. One more. I'm curious, when you describe manufacturing, so the tire shop down the street, or these auto body shops and so on, are those considered manufacturing? Is that the kind of business we're trying to encourage and support? That's a rhetorical question.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for that. I think that those uses are included as allowable uses in an M zone. What we're, what it is we want to support. And Kenny, why don't you speak to that?
The vast majority of businesses in the IBZ are makers of various kinds. There's also designers, there's furniture manufacturers, there's architects, there's glass blowers, there's metal workers. In fact, most of the IBZ does not have any auto related. On the periphery, there are some along 21st Street, and there's a couple of taxi drives along Queens Plaza South. But the actual bulk of the IBZ is really a combination of some legacy manufacturers, product manufacturers, but also a whole wave of artisan businesses that came to Long Island City over the past several decades, and a lot of artists as well.
And a lot of those, not all, but I assume a high proportion of those enterprises are tenants rather than owners.
That's correct. And just as a side comment, people need jobs, and the manufacturers provide jobs. They provide unique training opportunities. Oh, I forgot. We have a lot of scenery builders in the neighborhood, and that's the scenery builders in particular. Provide a vast array of training in a whole variety of skills, from carpentry to computer design to electrical work. So they're essentially natural incubators in the IBZ.
Yeah, I really appreciate that comment. I wonder if along the lines of what we said a while back when we were dealing with Northern Boulevard, and we went on record as a board stating that we were opposed to auto-related, Laura, help me out. How is it phrased? Auto-related, car-related businesses and so on.
Yes, we said.
Could we extend that to this area?
Yeah, auto-related businesses on Northern Boulevard specifically. That was it.
I'm just going to put 10 more minutes on the timer to discuss this issue, just to help keep us moving. Behind you, Krisha.
Yeah, appreciate this conversation. I just want to say, one of the things DCP presented to the Land Use Committee that might be of interest to the board and that I would like to dig up in my inbox somewhere is data on the number of jobs generated in the IBZ and tracing it over time. And the claim that they made, backed by some kind of census data around jobs, is that the IBZ and the LIC has been losing jobs over time. So there are fewer jobs generated in that district today than there were in the past, and that the goal of the rezoning to allow additional density in the IBZ, which is not, the IBZ, they're not proposing housing. It's still going to be manufacturing zoned, like an M zone. Their goal is to allow more, like bigger, more dense, not necessarily more intensive, but certainly like bigger, more intensive land use within the manufacturing zones. And the claim they're making is that that's going to result in more jobs. I do think it's worth, I really appreciate hearing the lived experience of a business owner, but I do think that point is interesting to deal with, right? Like, if the current zoning is adequate, why are we losing jobs in that area? I think we all agree we want more jobs in that area. And so it would be interesting to think about why the city's proposal to allow sort of more expansive uses and more intensive development is, if we don't think that's the way to reverse this job loss, why do we think that? What's our argument for that? And why do we think the city is incorrect in their proposition?
Rebuttal.
I don't mean to be rebutting per se, but just one reason that jobs have declined there. And by the way, small manufacturing is one of the largest growing sectors citywide. But the reason that there has been a data on a decline there is because a lot of the space has been warehoused in anticipation of upzoning. That's been going on for a very, very long time. In fact, I even wrote an op-ed that I just found recently. I wrote an op-ed in 2008 for the Daily News covering this exact topic, because at that time I was looking for a place to move my shop, which had outgrown its previous location, and no one would offer a lease more than 1 year at the time, and any owners that I talked to said, well, this is all going to be upzoned. So there's been sort of a bit of I'm not saying that's the total reason, but that's certainly one of the factors. Yeah.
Thank you. We could close it. Are there any other, so this was a helpful discussion, Lisa.
Can you just mention the ULURP process? Because if they start ULURP, the Community Board 2 doesn't meet over the summer, and we have 60 days to review a ULURP, certified ULURP proposal. So let's say it gets certified in April, after our community board meeting, we have an opportunity at land use, and then May community board meeting, and then we'd have to vote in June. If it doesn't get certified in April, gets certified in May, then it pushes it off and it makes our calendar really, really tight. So I think we just need to be mindful of that.
Thank you for bringing that up. I know that I know that the calendar. I dread sort of the calendar, which is really essentially what happened last summer. Is they suddenly announced this hearing in August after our final board meeting in June. And it was only, by pounding on doors and writing letters and kind of not taking no that we got them to extend the comment period by 1 day after our first board meeting. It was kind of ridiculous. But, and here the stakes are much higher. This isn't just an EIS. So another thing that we could consider, and I know that it's not just the community board that has been saying this, I know that many other advocacy groups have been essentially begging city planning to extend the calendar and allow more time for this very major proposal. And one thing we could consider is a letter to that effect, but
Anne-Marie, then me.
No, you're just talking about what I was going to ask, is what recourse do we have? If last year writing a letter didn't really help us very much.
Well, it got us a chance to make our comments.
Exactly, but if this thing comes out in June, then we're really in trouble, right?
Yep.
Because we don't meet during the summer. Yep. So what other avenues are there to try to mitigate this?
We had assumed that it would be coming out in June because, things always take till the last second. They had said spring of '25, but they had very strongly hinted that it would not be June, it would be earlier in the spring. So my current guess is March or April, but we haven't heard anything from them.
And technically, the executive committee is allowed to step in when the full board can't, but I think this is too big for just 5 of us to handle. You also reminded me that there's interest from CB1 as well to hold a joint hearing or something when kind of tackle multiple birds and with one opportunity. Lisa, you had?
There's certainly precedent for making requests to extend it. We've gone through big ULURPs here before where, they've extended it till the fall instead of 60 days. It was, I don't know if it was quite 90 days, but, so there's a lot of precedent. It's just kind of
annoying, right? It's just, it's very disconcerting that, municipal agency would, I feel like it's rigging the system. And it's not allowing us to do our due diligence. And as volunteers, we clearly need the time, more time maybe than experts need to go through this stuff. So it's really important to us. Nick, I would say it's really important to us that we have enough time to do this, and whatever you can do to help to manage that process, we'd be very grateful. Thank you.
And I meant 6 of us. Sorry, Patrick.
One thing, sorry, can we make sure, and I know I'm on land use, so I can tell you this in the committee meeting, but can we make sure that there is indeed multiple public hearings with CB1, with us? Because I think the big frustration, well, my big frustration and many of my neighbors' frustration is that there hasn't been a proper town hall. There hasn't been the public hearing that happened was in August. Like, they want to be able, a lot of people, my neighbors don't have the patience to go to those workshops and do that, but they have an opinion and they would show up and share it with a little prodding from me. But like, I just think that needs to be a really big part of the process, which because we talk about this all the time.
No, I definitely think that's something we should think about in advance, how we want to schedule that. And I mean, one thing that Anatol and I talked about today is setting up some kind of working group from within the community board, and I know a couple of people kind of volunteered already, but something that would represent all the relevant committees also to be able to meet on some regular basis between now and then to kind of consider all of these issues and try and be able to get back to the board with considered recommendations.
Absolutely. So after today, let's take some volunteers and start moving it along, and to put some dates in the calendar and see what we can do.
Yeah, because it's already February. We're going to have land use in a couple of weeks, so maybe it would be a good idea in terms of time frame if like that committee could reach out to CB1. So by the time we meet for land use, which I also encourage everybody on the board to even just tune in via Zoom, because there's a lot of important discussion and presentation and nuances that we ask DCP. And it would be really, really great to just hear input from the full board members just to maximize the amount of time that we have. So that maybe, because essentially a joint meeting between the community boards would need to happen in March if we're preparing for them to come out with this plan in April, the latest. If they're going to be on time, it's going to come out in April, the latest. So.
And just to like the scale of this, it's City of Yes is nothing, right? Like we talked about today, like it's concepts of it's a plan. But it's amorphous compared to this. This is real. This is fast moving. This is gonna happen. Like I complain to Kenny all the time. Like 2001, like that was the big thing. Like what happened then? And this is the next big thing since 2001. So yeah, it's it's coming. So we should be ready.
I just want to say very briefly to encourage people along Carisha's point about participating remotely. We now have a highly improved microphone system. Thank you, Debbie and Anatol. And so that you really can meaningfully participate remotely and hear and understand 100% of what's going on and not 30%.
And sorry, just to publicly on record, also invite the broader community, like everybody that takes their time to do public comment, and please tell your neighbors and your friends that also wanted to do comment and already left or meant to come and couldn't make it. Please encourage them to come. All of our meetings are public and open, and there's a lot of information. So to Lisa's point, if it takes the community board where we volunteer hours on end to try and understand plans where we're given a very limited amount of time, I can only imagine how much more time the broader community would like to have to also understand this alongside with us. It's very important that we all have a collective voice and a collective understanding so we can make our demands very clearly to DCP and what's the other one? EDC. Because at the end of the day, like we only have our advice to give.
Right. Well said. Okay, so thanks, everybody.
These quick committee updates.
Hello, everybody. Transportation Committee met this week. Not much. It's kind of the slow season for projects. There's no building going on, and we're waiting for things that were announced last year to start building up again. The only real update I have is MTA has opened a survey to select stations for accessibility upgrades. Briefly, it says the MTA is seeking input on which stations to prioritize for accessibility improvements over the next 5 years. The proposed 2025 to 29 capital plan identified an initial 30 stations, and the MTA plans to make at least an additional 30 stations accessible for a total of more than 60 stations within the next 5 years. With these investments, approximately 70% of all subway rides will take place to or from accessible stations. So there is a survey website, and they are encouraging everybody to go there. The address is mta.info/accessibility/select-stations. And we can send that out if you did not write that down. But once again, that's mta.info/accessibility/select-stations, and hyphen is a symbol when I say that. Thank you. But yeah, really that is it. If anybody has any questions.
I have a quick question.
Yeah, hey.
Do you happen to know the timeline of completion for what's happening under Bliss Plaza and the parking lot? Oh, that's not MTA, is it? No, it is.
Which?
Elevators?
Yeah, the 46th Street station.
So is that where the parking lot's at? Okay, yeah, okay, when will that be done? Not sure yet.
Not sure. I think I had a date. Let me see. Honestly, I don't have it. It's going to take a while. Construction hasn't started. They're building the elevators there, and so it's going to take a while. Yeah, I think over a year. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
The bus stop on 44th Street near the Wendy's, now there's, I guess it's a bike, is it bike lane there?
Mm-hmm.
It's a bike lane there, but the bus can't get to the sidewalk to stop, so it actually stops in the middle of the street, and it's really hard for some people to actually get off the bus.
Yeah, this is because of the Jersey barriers from the construction.
Yeah, mhm.
So you have to cross from the sidewalk across the
No,
bike lane.
when you're getting off the bus coming from Manhattan,
Yeah.
right, the bus stops in front of the Jersey barriers. It doesn't go into the Jersey barriers to stop by the sidewalk.
Yeah, I think, I looked at it, that's an issue of the construction. I think, I can
Can you
talk
make
to
a
them.
request to
Maybe,
make a wider opening for the bus
yeah,
or something?
or perhaps move the bus stop a block, or?
Yeah.
We actually requested bus boarding islands, like they have in other parts of the city, where there's like a raised platform so that people boarding can wait on the other side of the bike, or step to the other side of the bike lane to get on. Yeah, it does. They have them in other places, so there's no reason we can't have them here.
Yeah, so we're pursuing improvements all along Queens Boulevard for that kind of mixing. I think there's a construction there that's making that look like that. I think that's the MTA thing, plus maybe, yeah, there, it seemed, I know exactly what you're saying. It seemed a mess and also temporary, but we could see. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much.
Amparo for Health and Human Services and Education and Unhoused.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Black History Month. We met on January 13th. We had a presentation by Live on New York and urged board members and constituents to sign up as organ donors. We included that one-pager from Live on New York in the January 25 newsletter that was sent via the community board office. Thank you very much. Our next meeting is this coming Monday, the 10th, 6 to 7, where we'll be having a presentation from the founder and executive director of Witness to Mass Incarceration. That's it.
Arts and Culture.
Okay, for arts and culture, in January, we had the Lawyers Alliance come and speak to us about the recent legal alert that was published about making sure nonprofit organizations remain in compliance, given some of the federal changes that were happening. A shout out to our new employee at the office, Debbie. He takes excellent minutes. So I do highly suggest everybody check out the Arts and Culture Minutes. We always put a ton of information on there. We link everything. Everybody that always comes to our meetings has a lot of great resources to share. We'll be doing some project updates for our next meeting on Tuesday regarding the murals and Bliss Theater. So yeah, please come on Tuesday. We're having the New Yorkers for Culture and Arts come and talk to us about ways that artists can better engage in advocacy. Yeah, so please come and thank you.
No, for City Services.
So I don't actually have much because the last meeting for city services was before the January board meeting, but we are meeting this coming Wednesday, 6:30. We have a long agenda with a lot of outdoor applications, which is interesting when it's freezing, but cool. So if you want to check it out, please do, but it's pretty straightforward. Is there a question? So that's it. Thanks. Bye.
Maury is absent and Ellen's excused, so we'll skip small business. And Tanya, if you want to come off mute and give the wonderful update.
I'll be brief. I'm glad to share that this past Saturday, February 1st, the Tech and Engagement Committee delivered the collected items from the coat drive to San Rafael Church. This time we had extra hands. Our board members, Leticia, Eric, and Osman helped bring in the items in a record time of 18 minutes. A little background on the parish. Every Saturday they host pantry services open to everyone in our community. So it was great to see that the donations were immediately put to good use. A huge thank you to everyone who supported our efforts. Debbie and Anatole, thank you for your guidance, and a special shout out to Sonnen and Warren for once again making the code drive run so smoothly. Thank you.
And the only other thing I wanted to put on people's radar was that before our next board meeting, Sunday, March 2nd, is the most wonderful time of the year, St. Pat's for All. And it's not about me, but thank you. And so we will be present like we have been the last few years. And the more bodies, the more appreciated to help me and Anatole carry that banner. No, you can.
Wait, I had a quick comment, Patrick.
Is it a comment or is
Sort
it a
of.
question?
Well,
Okay.
I was just curious if, like, if if there could be anything in terms of engagement that we could do every year leading up to community board applications opening. I think it's like a great opportunity for us to start like reaching out in January, things like that, to like get people aware and interested in applying every year.
I mean, I'm not against that, but I'd love ideas for that, because I know Claire would say they're getting the word out. I'm sure Nick would say they're getting the word out. I'm sure I would say we put it in the newsletter and got the word out. Debbie has it plastered up in the front window of the office. So new ideas would be much appreciated, and we can totally do it.
Yeah, great. Yeah, in the same vein of when we used to try and do like meet and greet whenever whenever we had new members come to the board in the spring. Same type of concept, but sure, I'll reach out later.
Yeah, or
Yes,
just whoever.
and I do want to add, Patrick, that yes, thank you, Carisha, for bringing that up. That was part of our plan for this year to actually have a meet and greet. We had a bunch of recommendations for places that would take us. Sadly, I got injured, so a lot of those plans got a little back, and we needed to focus on the code drive. So yes, it was in our plans. We'll get it done next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had one thought also. I mean, when we're out and about, for instance, at the St. Patrick's Day for All parade, there's nobody that would know that any of us are community board members. If they did, and maybe even we had a nice big button, ask me about the community board and what it does, or something like that. Whether, I know, Danielle, you didn't like baseball caps, but even a baseball cap, something like that that would identify us. Maybe not what all the electeds have, the little button that you learn to look for, but something.
Yeah, we got buttons. we don't have ask me about stickers. Yeah.
We'll have some buttons at the table.
We have a handful of buttons left. We gave out quite a lot of buttons and bags. And we do have little pouches that you can hand out. That we do have little.
For instance, is something that says community board member and says, ask me about the community board and what it does. Something that invites people to do that. Not I do have at least one of those buttons.
I volunteer to go to Party City and pick up some Ask Me About stickers for the thing. It works. Cool. And wait, don't go anywhere. So there's been an update with Tanya and Patrick's committee. I think it just makes sense now to turn it into just the engagement and inclusion committee. So the tech stuff, can come under executive committee and our core considerations. But thank you, Patrick, for chairing it for a while, and now Tanya is the chair of the Engagement and Inclusion Committee. Well deserved. I mean, you show up to this thing with a crutch, you're gonna be the chair. Patrick, you're staying on, you're gonna support, you're gonna help out, but we officially are looking for a vice chair of this committee. So, talk to me. All right. So that's that for the committee formerly known as Tech and Engagement, now Engagement. And last but not least, definitely not least, environment. Laura.
Our last meeting was very productive. We were joined by the Parks Department. Thanks, Debbie, for inviting them, and thank you, Carlos, for suggesting it. They are interested in working with community members to identify an alternative temporary location for the Murray Playground Dog Run while it's closed for remediation. We also discussed lead testing of playground equipment. A community member had a great idea for putting AED machines in parks. And yeah, lots of other good productive discussions. And a major update though, everyone congratulate Carlos. He's going forward. He'll be the sole chair of the Environment, Parks and Recreation Committee. And that is because this is my last community board meeting. I will be resigning right after this meeting because I've accepted a new position at the Queensborough President's Office as the Transportation and Parks Liaison. So I'll be starting there on the 18th. And I'm really going to actually miss serving with all of you. I've been on the board for almost 4 years now, served 2 terms, and board really has gone through a major transformation in the time that I've watched this board. I started coming to CB2 more than 10 years ago, sitting over there as a reporter, then came to the back of the room and up for public comment as an agitator, and it's been exciting to be part of the room where it all happens, and thank you. And I'm really proud of everything we've accomplished together, from getting the first bike boulevard in New York City to rejecting the car dealership at 5802 Northern, voting for the city of Yes, and just everything over the years, universal daylighting, advocating for bus lanes. I really cannot wait to celebrate and walk on the Queensborough Bridge South Outer Walkway with all of you when it finally opens. And I just really want to thank you all for all of your hard work and dedication to the community. And going forward, I really want to see you at celebrations, not vigils. So just keep the work going and keep being a model board and setting an example for everyone, especially the people who come after us. All right, that's it.
And thank you for your energy, for everything you brought to your committee, and this is well-deserved. Like, if anybody could just turn their committee into their job and be awesome at it, you just got that. So congratulations, well-deserved. Thank you for everything you've done for the board. Our loss is Borough Hall's gain. Camille, yeah. Uh-oh.
Well, congratulations on your new role. I think we'll be seeing you around. But question about Court Square Park, any updates on that? I thought the construction was gonna begin in December.
No, we did not get an update on the timeline for that at the meeting. But Debbie, you might have at the district. You did, great.
Construction start date for Court Square is February 17th.
Perfect, thank you.
That's what we've been told by Parks. It was delayed, and supposedly it's supposed to start February 17th, construction.
Yeah, and I believe in the email you sent around, it mentioned that construction on a number of other parks in the district is set to start this spring.
Yes.
Yes.
Does that include Lieutenant Michael Davidson? I just have to make sure I ask.
I will find out.
I believe it does.
I will find out.
We'll double check.
Sorry, quick follow-up. So what is the alternative site that Parks is considering for the dog run?
So they intend to get back to us with a map of potential public sites in the area. But they're also open to suggestions because there are not a lot of them, unfortunately.
I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
So, So will you be coming to give us updates on things, like, so that we can come and ask you questions?
So Claire is the liaison between the Borough President's Office and CB2, but I believe I'll be back when there are major transportation and park projects.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We look forward.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, well deserved, well deserved. And that brings us to the end. Motion to adjourn. Okay. Happy Valentine's Day in advance. Be safe, be well, and